Assalamualaikum. This is Sadia Jalali with Muslim Bliss. Just wanted to talk a little bit today about the idea of reassurance and validation. I was just reading Quran a few days ago, and I was really taken aback by a verse that, and there are many verses like this, but in Surah Ma'idah, where basically Allah says and reassures the messenger. He says, oh messenger, again, I'm paraphrasing, but it's like, grieve not when those groups and tribes turn against you, even though you kind of went in with, sort of a good faith effort to make alliances. So during the Prophet ﷺ's time, he had to do that a lot with different tribes. Sometimes he's referring, in this particular ayah, it's referring to some of the Jewish and Christian tribes or some of the hypocrites. And, the Prophet ﷺ would have to try to work with these people, and he would go in with these very, again, good faith effort to try to work with them. And time again, they, sort of would backstab him and totally, mistreat him, go against what they said, go back on their word. And to see that Allah wanted to reassure him and just validate him that don't grieve over this. Allah sees what you're doing, and he knows that you are being just and you're holding up your end of this, and that they will surely deal with the consequences of backstabbing people. It's so wrong to do that. But the idea that Allah wanted to reassure his messenger, he was tasked with such such a burden, right? To spread this huge message. Of Tawheed, of monotheism, and of Islam, and for him to want to reassure him that when these moments happen and people hurt you, it's okay. I'm still with you. Don't grieve over people. I see everything, and it just reminded me the idea of how important reassurance and validation is in our lives. We have to reassure the people around us, our loved ones, our family and friends. Sometimes when the world feels like it's beating them down a little bit, just trying to make someone feel better, feel okay in who they are in their own existence. It always reminds me of this beautiful story of the Prophet ﷺ and Umar radiallahu anh. I always love hearing it because it's just so profound in the way the Prophet ﷺ knew, Allah, modeled it for him in the Quran, but then to reassure people, his companions, he did this all the time, always made them feel good about themselves somehow. And it's a story where the Prophet ﷺ is sitting with a group of women, and they're in a gathering, and Umar radiallahu anh comes in. And when he came, the women essentially scattered, like literally hid from him. And the Prophet ﷺ, in the riwayah I read, kind of giggled, he chuckled a little bit, seeing this, that all these women kind of fled when they saw Umar radiallahu anh. Umar radiallahu anh was a little bit, he was unhappy. He was not happy to see that he has this, sort of presence that people have to be afraid of him. And the Prophet ﷺ saw this on his face, saw that look change where he was like, I don't necessarily want to be like a monster or something people are scared of. And subhanAllah, the Prophet saw that immediately and knew he needed to say something. So what did he say? He said, Umar, you are also the person who, when you walk down a path, the shaitan takes an alternate direction. Like, that is your stature. That is your station. Your faith is so strong, and you are just such a powerhouse that even the shaitan flees from you. Like, subhanAllah, what an amazing thing to be told from the Prophet of God. And just for the Prophet ﷺ to have read his face and how he was feeling in that moment, he needed to say something to reassure him, to uplift him. And I hope that inshallah we can learn from that even from Allah to the messenger, we see that there is a reassurance and a validation that is given, that you are still a good person, your existence is good, even when you see something that seems the opposite, or that seems like you're failing at something. And so I just wanted to, bring that up, that I hope that in our lives with our family and friends, that we can be that source of reassurance and of that source of validation to make someone feel better about themselves than, when we found them. That's one of the most biggest lessons I learned from the Sira and the Prophet's life, is he made the people around him feel good about themselves. I mean, he didn't hesitate, of course, to tell somebody what they're doing wrong, but the tact and the wisdom in which he did it was so profound, and we still have so much to learn from that. And he really reassured people to be comfortable with who they are. So inshallah, we can learn from that and uplift and empower and reassure the people around us. Assalamu alaikum.